Welcome to the Top Listing Agent Show, the place to be to stay on the cutting edge of what it takes to sell more homes in less time. Each week, your host, Chadi Bazzi, will share with you the best skill sets, systems, and strategies so you can become a top listing agent. And now, let the show begin.
Hey, Chadi B, and welcome to the Top Listing Agent Show. This week we're gonna do something a little bit differently, and what I'm gonna do is I had three questions that have come in from students, and I thought it would be a good idea for me to answer them here on the podcast and have the 25,000 people that download this on a monthly basis benefit from the answers. But before I go ahead and answer these questions, we're gonna title this show today the TLA Q&A show, and we got three questions. And there's one other thing that I want to touch on real quickly. I was doing a training a little bit ago, a couple of hours ago, at a RE/MAX office in Rancho Cucamonga here in California, and it's an NLP training. And one of the things that I talked about is I basically asked the question, and the question was, would you like to learn a very advanced strategy that can literally take your life and your business to the next level? If the answer is yes, raise your hand. How many people do you think raised their hand who are in search of this very advanced strategy? How many people do you think? Like literally, I'm talking to you right now, watching this video or listening to this podcast. How many people do you think the whole entire room raised their hand and said, yes, I want that? You're absolutely right. Everyone pretty much raised their hand and said, I want that. And then I went on to ask the question of I said, how long have you been looking for this very advanced strategy that could potentially take your life and your business to the next level? And pretty much every single person had the same exact response. And they pretty much said they've been looking for that for their entire life. And I was like, and you haven't found it yet, have you? And they said, no, they haven't. So I was like, okay, what could this very advanced strategy be? And then I remembered a quote I read from Bruce Lee, the martial artist, the Kung Fu guy, okay? And basically the quote said something along the line of do not be afraid of the man who knows how to throw a punch 1,000 different ways that he only practiced each one once. Be afraid of the man who's practiced how to throw one punch 1,000 times. Okay? And in essence, what that is really saying is you become advanced when you master the basics. When you master the basics. So what I really want you to think about is, what are the basics that you've gotten away from that you need to go back to be able to take your life and your business to the next level? And remember, at the end of the day, operating a real estate business is very simple when you operate it like a business. It's very simple when you really understand common sense and you practice common sense, because usually common sense is not common practice. See, that's a good quote. So we'll quote that one. Common sense is not common practice. So let's get on and answer the three questions that we got right here. So we'll go to the good old iPad, and iPad, turn on. Awesome. All right. So we got three questions. We're not going to name the individuals that actually sent in the questions, but we'll answer every single question individually. Let's see which question we're going to begin with. All right. Here's question number one. Question number one is, how do you put a proper plan in place and implement it immediately? Good question. How do you put a proper plan in place and implement it immediately? I'm not sure what kind of plan she's talking about, but let's assume that she's talking about a plan to take business to the next level, the real estate business to the next level. How do you put that proper plan in place? Okay. And then how do you get yourself to implement it? Okay. That's a very good question. I have to think about it for 2 seconds before I give you the answer. I'm messing with it. Let me give you the answer. So the way that I like to put a plan in place is I always like to begin with the end in mind. Okay, what is the end result that I want? Okay, so if the question I don't have a way to find out the specifics, how to put a let's talk about a lead generation plan in place. How do you put a lead generation plan in place? Okay, well, you begin with asking yourself the question, and you can ask the question for whatever kind of system you're trying to really put in place. It doesn't matter. You ask yourself the question of, what do I want to accomplish in this area? Okay. So whatever the goal is, it needs a plan. Okay. And I always like to begin by answering this question. If I knock this goal out of the park, like if I achieve this goal, what would business actually look like? Now, the reason I'm doing that is so I can begin by not focusing on the how I'm going to accomplish the goal, but for me to gain clarity on the why I want to reach the goal. Because if I'm able to connect on a higher level, and I have that clarity, and I have like that insatiable hunger, desire to achieve the goal, then guess what kind of plan I am going to create? I'm going to create a killer plan of action, because there is a killer big why behind it. It's not just like any other plan. And talking about the second part of the question of the implementation, well, the more clear you are on why you want to achieve that goal, or what ultimately implementing that plan is going to do for you, that's the secret to implementing it. And it should become a really no-brainer. Okay. And then what I do, okay, after answering those questions, I just say, what are the activities that I have to engage in day and day out in order for me to reach the goal? Like I would brain dump, and everything we're doing right now is a brain dump. I would write down all the activities. Then I will ask myself the question, what do I need to learn in order for me to, fully implement this system? There's something I got to learn. What is it that I need to learn? And then I ask myself the question, who do I need to learn from? Okay, so I'd find other people in the marketplace, or you can find a mentor, someone to help you out. Okay, and then, seek it. Or, then I'd ask myself the question of, what books do I need to read to support me in reaching this plan? Or what audio programs do I need to listen to support me in reaching this plan? And then I'd ask myself the question of, who are the people that could support me in reaching this plan? And I'd put the names of the people that could support me. Then I'll say, who are the people that will hold me accountable to doing the work to reach the plan? So I did this whole entire brain dump, and guess what? Then I'll just organize it in any way I feel would be best for me to follow it. And now what do I got? I got a plan that revolves around clarity. I'm 100% clear on why I want to put that plan in place. I'm 100% clear on what the execution of the plan will ultimately do for me. Okay, I'm 100% clear on the daily activities I have to involve myself in. I know what books I need to read. I know what audio programs I need to listen to. I know what I need to learn. I know who I can learn it from. I know whose support I need, and I know who's going to hold me accountable. And that's one killer plan. And when you create a killer plan that has a killer why behind it, then the implementation is, I can only, I'm still like working on the second one like this from the injury, but I can do this. It'll be easy peasy, simple. So that was a very good question, and we gave you a very good response. And now we're going to move on to question number 2. Question number 2 was, okay, so this comes from a gentleman by the name of Alex, and Alex says, if there was one action above all other actions I could start taking right now that would create more business, what would that be? He's like, if there's one action that I can take on right now that will give me the most amount of business as fast as possible, what would that one action be? Again, very good question. And this one I need 3 seconds to think about it. I'm joking. No time to think about it. I mean, the first thing that really came to mind for me is the action of picking up the phone. Like, if you want business right now, pick up the phone. And I answered that question yesterday. Somebody asked that question inside of a Facebook group and basically said, if you were, it goes along with this. They said, if you're moving into a brand new marketplace with no center of influence, no database, you don't know anyone, what would you do to generate one deal in the next 2 months? Well, I'll tell you, in a brand new marketplace myself, I was able to generate my first deal the second day in real estate. So I know exactly what the formula is. And answering this question just reminded me of my first day in real estate. What did I do that first day? I prospected all day long. I picked up the phone and I called up every single expired I possibly can. I called up every single for sale by owner I possibly can. When I ran out of numbers, I started just doing cold calling. I set an appointment during day one. I took a listing day two. So Alex, to answer your question, it would be to get on the phones and make as many calls as you possibly can all day, every single day, until you build up your business. And then eventually, when you do what I've been telling you to do in regards to building your database, you would never need to prospect again for the rest of your life. But there is a short-term pain period that you got to go through in order for you to eliminate the pain of the business for the rest of your life. So that is my answer. Okay, let's move on to, so look, for a lot of you guys out there who are afraid of doing lead generation, get over it. If you want leads, you got to go out there and get them. All right, question number 3 comes from Chris. Chris says, do you have a recommendation in terms of a pricing strategy to get homes sold fast and for top dollar? Then he follows it up with another question. So, do I have a recommendation in terms of a pricing strategy that gets home sold fast and for top dollar? Yeah, I do have a strategy. It's a very simple strategy. It's called price it right. Okay, get very good at pricing property. Like, even though, see, a lot of times with agents, what they do is they only practice pricing property when they have a listing appointment. And then what happens is they're not setting and going on enough listing appointments. Therefore, they're not doing enough practice. So what we need to do is we need to practice the art and science of pricing property, like literally on a daily basis. So what I would recommend that you do is find someone else in your marketplace who is very good at pricing property and start practicing with them pricing property. Give each other feedback until you are comfortable with pricing property. And that goes on because you're asking the question right here. Your follow-up question, Chris, was, I feel like telling sellers I can sell their home in 30 days or less is a stretch. How can I gain confidence in this area? By getting very good at pricing property, by getting very good at developing your listing presentation. Actually, this is a very good question. And look, it's not just about pricing property, bro. It's not just about getting the price right. It's about getting the seller in the right state of mind to listen to how you are going to navigate the pricing part of the presentation and have them price it right. Look, if you're following my listing presentation, we never ever price property. What we do is we educate the sellers on the reality in a very, very effective and influential manner to where 99% of the time they select the price and they get it right. So Chris, the easy answer to the question is you need to develop your listing presentation. And talking about that, for all the podcast listeners and the people who are watching this on YouTube, if you haven't already attended my listing presentation mastery webinar, then you definitely need to attend that webinar. You can do that by simply going to listingsondemand.com and join us on the webinar. And I think there you'll even get a better answer to pricing property than the answer I gave here. And with that said, we're good to go. That's a wrap for today. We'll see you on the next episode of the Top Listing Agent Show. Thank you very much. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.